shortly, we will hear two very interesting presentations on these two topics relative to the BLAST project, and a short presentation on what is blockchain. But firstly, I'll give you an overview on what is BLAST for anybody that's new to these webinars or hasn't heard about the project before. So BLAST is a European funded project, and it was designed to create a learning platform for young adults that had kind of a non-formal approach. Each of the partners brought their own expertise to the table, and from the learning outcomes were devised, and from that we developed a curriculum to teach young people about the topics that were chosen. The outputs from these curriculums are available in English, Dutch, Portuguese, and in Turkish. The 6 topics that were selected were considered important for the fight for sustainability, and they would tackle the Sustainable Development Goals outlined by the UN. But also the 6 topics that young people could relate to and understand from their own experiences. And these were climate change and biodiversity loss, natural disasters, air pollution, and ocean health and water scarcity, which is the 2 that we are just going to discuss today. So just as I said, this is part of a webinar series. So the webinars were broken down into 2 topics for each of them. The webinars will be available shortly online if you want to go back and check out the ones if you missed them. Also, check out our social channels, which I don't know if you can see on your screen. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, and also the website at the bottom of the page there too. The registration will be opening quite shortly for the conference, and we'd be delighted to see you all there. So, as I said, today's topics are on ocean health and water scarcity. And so what I'm going to talk about briefly is ocean health and its actual importance. So oceans, we all know where the oceans are, we can name them. As the video pointed out there, it covers around about 70% of the Earth's surface, planet. But we actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do actually know about our own seas and our own seabeds. There's a conservative estimate that there's around about 1 million species. Realistically, there could be about 10 million species of animals, flora, fauna, inside our oceans, but we know very, very little. Worms, which is the World's Register on Marine Species, has a record of around about 240,000 species, I believe. And every year there's between 1,000 to 2,000 new species being identified and added to that register every year. So as I said, 1 million species could be an estimation, 10 million species could be an estimation. We really, really don't know. And this is generally because we really haven't explored our oceans. And as I said, we know more about the moon's surface. We've actually only explored around about 5% of the world's oceans. We've mapped around about 20% of the seabed through the likes of sonar and other methods. And we've so much more to explore. With regards to species, because we don't know what is actually out there and what's actually living out there, we could be losing species every day that we don't know anything about from our own man-made disasters and hazards, the likes of pollution and overfishing. And it's something that we really need to be thinking about as people, what is in our oceans and how we can be helping to save our oceans. For us on Earth, actually living on terra firma, on land, it's vitally important because it's a large carbon sink. The oceans themselves are taking back about 15 times more carbon and greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere than our plants are, or our soils are, and everything else that's on land. And like that, we can only get the seas to take so much before it will stop taking gases out of our atmosphere. So it's vital to us for our own climate change initiatives and how we deal with climate change. And from the large carbon that is taken out, it's actually producing a huge amount of oxygen. And 50% of the oxygen in our atmosphere is from the aid of phytoplankton, which is kind of a little micro single cell organism that lives predominantly in the top of the sea, as in the levels, and is part of the ecosystem for food for many creatures in the oceans. And they produce, as I said, about 50% of the oxygen in our atmosphere. So, as I said, the sea is hugely important, and it's absorbed around about 90% of the heat out of the atmosphere as well. And that's from the way that the currents work. So shallower waters will take in heat from the atmosphere, and as the tide goes out, the climate or the currents change, it'll take the heat through, and it creates a cycle where it's just taking heat out of the atmosphere. But again, as our temperatures rise and we're all hitting for the 1.5 degrees, the seas will only take so much energy or heat out of the atmosphere. And that in itself is giving rise to the likes of the polar ice caps melting, and the whole ecosystem in there is changing because it's creating more fresh water, and it's changing our climates from the way the currents are actually changing as well. So, like, to us, as I said, and I reiterate, living on Earth, our oceans are hugely vital to us and our survival of our own species, let alone the biodiversity that is around us. So, as I said, it's hugely vital to our survival, not only from the whole climate aspect, but in a basic nutshell, it feeds us. Many of us will eat fish, many of us will eat shellfish, seaweeds, and there are communities that will eat seabirds and sea eggs, and them themselves are obviously eating from fish from the sea. So to keep us alive, we need to be looking after the oceans. It's a form of transport for many people. I lived on an island for 20 years. To get to and from my local shop, I had to use a ferry. It was a form of transport for me. And I know that a lot of small nations, small island developing nations, are islands, so they rely on boats and the seas to transport them. Also, for recreation, many of us go swimming in the sea. Again, you might go boating, or even you might take your 4-year-old down to the beach and let them paddle in the surf. It's a form of recreation for us. And if those local seas are polluted, you're not going to be able to go swimming or to be able to take your young child down to the beach. And in turn, that creates employment by having seas that we can fish. You're employing not only fishermen to be able to do that, but the industries that are actually on the shore that rely on them, your local markets, your local shops, the transport industry that's built around shipping fish and shellfish around as well. And also, industry in itself is hugely important. As I said, we might eat fish, we might eat shellfish, whatever, but a lot of the chemical industries rely on seaweeds. Whether you pick up a toothpaste tube or whether you take a yogurt from your fridge, a lot of these will contain certain, and I'm going to use the word E numbers or chemicals as we would define them as, but most of them are actually organic and they actually come from seaweeds. So, as I said, to me personally, and I worked as a marine biologist as well, which is why I feel so very passionate about this, since the ocean is very vital to our survival. So that is my intro, and I'm going to let Bessie now to carry on. Thank you very much, guys.
Hi. Thank you very much, Karen. It was really informative for us. Let me share my presentation with you. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Good.
okay, great. Okay. Okay, today I will be talking about ocean health deterioration. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Beste Beşirli. I work at İSMEK Institution at Istanbul, and I'm one of the head teachers in English department here. Okay, let me start. Yes, we did a pilot process about ocean health. This was very interesting topic for our young participants because, as Karen said, this is the vital element for all human beings. And let me talk about what we did and how we dealt with ocean health deterioration during our pilot process. We gave a seminar to our young participants, and the aim of our seminar was raise awareness about ocean health among young people. This was the main target, actually. And this was an interactive seminar. They did group researches and they did a lot of brainstorming activities during this process. Before the seminar was given, participants were asked questions and they did brainstorming activity. And it was observed whether they knew the importance of ocean health, and also we wanted to check if they knew the causes and effect of ocean health deterioration issue. And they shared information with each other, and of course, after they came up with a lot of good answers, they were informed about the answers. And brainstorming method was applied for the actions needed to stop ocean health deteriorations, and also precautions to be taken. And we share with them the local and international ocean conservation activities. And just like we watched before our webinar today, they watched the same video about blast project to see how blockchain system can be used to track and trace to prevent overfishing and pollution. And overall, the topics mentioned at the seminar were the concept of ocean health and its importance, the causes of this issue, the ocean health deterioration issue, and the ocean governance and key concepts, actions to stop this issue, and also preventive actions necessary to protect our oceans. And as I said, activities locally and internationally to conserve our oceans in the world. And Ocean Health Index concept was introduced to our young participants. During the importance of ocean health part, we asked our young participants what came to their mind when we said oceans. And they gave very good answers, like just with one word, big, blue, beautiful. And of course, we talked about oceans are much more than this. And we asked them, as human beings, we live on land, so why do we have to care about our oceans? And they came up with very good answers. Most of them are like the issues where Karen mentioned in the previous presentation. They said oceans are home to our countless marine species, and they contribute to the health of animals that live on land and provide many benefits to humans. And they produce more than 50% of planet's oxygen. This is very important. And they regulate our climate and weather patterns. And we also rely on oceans to transportation, and also they contribute a lot to worldwide economy through tourism, food, and other industries. And also globally, we rely on them for protein, and also it's very important for medical industry. Okay, since it is very important, then we ask our participants, why do we face this problem? Why do we face ocean health deterioration issue? And in groups, the participants did online research, and these are the answers that they came up with after this research activity. Why do we face this problem? Because of excessive population growth, globally industrialization, agricultural activities, the increase in water demands of all the sectors, overfishing, just like we mentioned in our blockchain video, and the effects of climate change, acidification, unfortunately, because of global warming, pollution, marine vehicles and platforms and pipelines established in the seas. And we also share with them the visual list of these problems. And we wanted to share ocean governance and key concepts with our young participants. For example, territorial sea, exclusive economic zone, high sea, contiguous zone. What are these? We talked about these key concepts. And we presented different diagrams to show each of them. Our aim was showing this diagram was to express the right of coastal states to regulate and exploit areas of oceans under their authority. And we talked about actions, preventive actions to protect our oceans, and what are the actions that needed to stop ocean health deterioration issue. And we ask our young participants for questions, actually. What can you do at home? And what can you do around town? What can you do on the water? And what can you do all the time to protect our oceans? And they did brainstorming activity in groups. And these are the answers that came up with. Around home, they said that we can conserve water, reduce pollutants, reduce waste. And around town, we should shop wisely, and we should reduce vehicle pollution, we should use less energy. And the water, we should fish responsibly, practice safe boating, respect the habitat. And also all the time, anytime, everywhere, we should volunteer for the cleaning up activities. And as I said, I work at İSMEK institution, which is under the roof of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality. We share with them which activities we carry out by our municipality, because Istanbul has a coastline of 515 kilometers. And we also have 5 million square meters of sea surface, in our city. So we share with them what we do locally in our city to protect our seas. We clean, as I said, all the sea surface area, solid waste and bottom mud with our professional team and modern tools. And we also collect the waste generated by all marine vessels using the Bosphorus Passage. We do recycling activities to bring them back to economy. And also, if we cannot do the recycling, we save them, we dispose them responsibly. And the other activities that are carried out by Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality are, we routinely perform the cleaning activity of the coastline, which I said before is about 515 kilometers. And in addition, we monitor our coastline with cameras placed at different points around the city. And other than local precautionary activities, we also share the international ocean conservation organizations with our young participants, as you can see here. And we introduce them the concept of Ocean Health Index, which is the comprehensive framework used to measure ocean health from global to local scales. And we encourage them to go online using this link and check all the index score of local points in the world and the global Ocean Health Index. And I would like to share with you the photos from our pilot process activity. As you can see, it was very beneficial for them and for us as well. And finally, I would like to share with you the achievements that we targeted with this process. Any person who participated in this activity, I can surely say that knows the concept of ocean health and its importance, learns the causes of ocean health deterioration issue, learns the precautions to be taken to stop this problem, and also knows the preventive actions to protect ocean health. Also, I can say he or she learned ocean governance and key concepts. And this pilot process created awareness about ocean health among them. And any participant learns activities carried out by our institution, Istanbul Metropolitan University and municipality, and also learns international ocean conservation organizations. And before we watch the video and talk about it, they know how to use, how blockchain is used to track and trace ocean health. And also, I hope they will influence others by raising awareness about the importance of ocean health, and they will be more aware of this problem, I hope, in the future. Okay, this was my presentation, which I'll stop sharing with you.
Thanks a million, Beste. That was really good. That was very
You're
interesting.
welcome.
So thanks a million for that. Just if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, then you can put them in the chat, and we'll come back to questions at the end of the webinar. So Anna-Rita, if you want to fire away and talk on water scarcity now.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we start, let me thank you all for your great presentations. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ana Frutuoso from ISQ, Portugal. We are a part of the BLAST project. I'm the project manager of BLAST from Portugal. We implemented the pilot report on the Unit 6, water scarcity. I'll be talking a little bit about the project, water scarcity, and what we learned with implementing the pilot. So let's start. So the impacts of the project BLAST. The project aims at raising awareness of specific environmental issues that can be solved with the support of blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. This project aims at young people that are already fighting for a sustainable world and are creative in finding solutions to address pressing problems that will impact mostly their generation and the ones to come. Through a series of learning activities designed to be engaging and to foster group cooperation, participants will deepen their knowledge on the specific topic and they have selected and have the opportunity to discuss lessons learned at the end of the activity. So these are the 6 learning units of BLAST project, and we will talk about the last one, the Unit 6, water scarcity. So why should we teach this topic of water scarcity? It's so important because over 1 billion people worldwide cannot obtain sufficient clean drinking water to meet their daily needs. And more animals are losing their water sources because of severe droughts. Currently, only 2% of all water on our world is suitable for use. We are also facing difficulties with sanitation. And because of that, 2.4 billion people are exposed to diseases. Ecosystems suffer significant damage because the water sources that keep these alive are under increasing stress. And an estimate shows that by 2025, 2/3 of the world's population may face water source shortage. We saw in the beginning of this webinar the video produced by the BLAST project about ocean health, but there's also a video about water scarcity, which I invite you all to click on this image and see. So let's talk about the learning unit and the objectives of the water scarcity learning unit for this pilot. The objectives of this unit are to teach the trainees about what water scarcity is, what it is caused by, and what are its main consequences in terms of human survival and human rights, as a means to give them the tools to identify corrective behavior and potential for collective action. In this unit, learners can learn and learned about what water scarcity is, what causes it besides drought, and what it means in terms of human rights. The trainees can relate the notion of what causes water scarcity to find potential ways of individual or collective actions to fight its causes. So here is the BLAST learning program. The BLAST project aims at fostering social inclusion through a non-formal learning program on the sustainable revolution through blockchain and DTL emergent technologies. The learning program of the BLAST project objective is to empower young people from 15 to 22 years old, empower them to take control of their lives by becoming agents of change. The learning outcomes approach that we took on this project are learner-centered and will be adopted for an EQF level 3 on the topic sustainable revolution through blockchain and DLT technologies. The learning outcomes will state in terms of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Here in the table below, you can see the learning outcomes that we established for the pilot and also for the project on the learning unit water scarcity. So what about piloting the water scarcity learning program? So we organized and invited various local schools to participate in this pilot, and we were able to gather 12 participants. The pilot was held in ISQ headquarters in order to gather different crowds and to guarantee the digital tools needed for the sessions and a stable internet connection. We invited 2 trainers, one of which is specialized in environmental engineering and the other trainer is specialized in technology. The session started with an interactive presentation that touched bases on the introductory concept of water scarcity. After that, the learners were divided into 3 groups of 4 to complete a research task on the topics of the presentation. After that research, they should present to the whole group their findings, which originated to some fruitful discussions. The session about blockchain followed the same structure. It was short and interactive. And later on, the learners gathered in the same groups as before and completed a web quest about the possible positive impact of blockchain on water scarcity. Lessons learned from the piloting of this project, especially this learning unit. We have 3 comments from the trainers, and I will read them to you. The first comment: the non-formal learning program fitted this target group perfectly. It was quite challenging for me because I'm more used to formal education practices, but it was definitely a learning experience for me too. I will take it with me for the next courses. The second comment: the discussion factor is really important. These learners need to feel heard. I could see the motivation when I asked them to speak up their opinion on different matters. The last comment: it's also important to give the learners the materials presented, the presentations that resulted from their group work too. And that is it from us. Thank you.
Thanks a million again, Anna. That was great. You can stop sharing there.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, thanks. That was very clear.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I was going to just present a few slides on the blockchain possibilities. Some of them were covered in the video at the start there, and then maybe we'll come back to a few questions after that. So can people see that? Oh, it's not. Yeah, okay. So we have covered this. So I'll just quickly run through what blockchain is. So it's a distributed ledger technology. So it's a technology where you're recording some piece of information that makes it very difficult, that's transparent and makes it very difficult to change. So it's possible uses anywhere where there's corruption or, well, because of a lack of information, there's corruption. Yeah, as we saw, which will come to some of the different applications. So it's programmable. So a smart contract, so it can be changed. The contract or the contents can be changed and updated, and can be followed. The data on it. It's distributed. It's secure. They can be encrypted in transmission, immutable, that it is very hard to change once validated. That you have a definite record, anonymous, unanimous, so that it's distributed across many nodes. So very hard to alter the contents of it when it's unanimous like that, and that it's time stamped. So again, yeah, decentralized, peer-to-peer, and distributed, as I ran through before. So just a couple of the examples that was listed, that was mentioned. One of them was on overfishing. So I suppose anywhere where you need to track materials or fish or produce, blockchain potentially can be used, and it would be that, like, overfishing, it has a big problem because there is big issues with corruption and people not boats not recording their fish correctly, the contents of what the fishing vessel is, getting that recorded, and then so if this was there, it would obviously not make it impossible to still would say challenge some of that, but it would make it harder for ships to would say to forge different documents like their logbooks and stuff like that now. So like one way would be that you track the fish caught when it was caught, then track maybe when it was processed, if it was processed at sea, or then if it's brought ashore, then if it goes on different transport channels, so it could be processed out at sea or when it's landed, and then maybe put on another boat or on trucks to ship it to the distribution center, usually, I suppose, and then could be potentially processed further. So at any stage of this, but that basically you'd have a log at each point that it could be scanned, that this is the contents of the same fish, or the ship that brought it in. So and then that would all follow through. So where it's processed again, and then maybe it goes to a logistics, a transport center, and then finally to the shop, and then to the consumer. So that potentially then you could have that the customer would have a barcode like that, and could scan and see where that fish was caught, and and what time, when it was caught, the date that it was caught, and how long it took to go, and what its journey is. So like, I don't know, like similar to if you're tracking a package maybe now, that you would see where it was, but that this could be developed, and it would make it harder to have it would make it harder for fraud, for fishing fraud, and that to occur, kind of, so like there is different logbooks about landing fish catches and that onshore, but to have the whole process there, that a customer could see that, and it would encourage would say sustainable practices and transparency in when you're buying fish, that you'd be able to see this. So then I suppose with just going to water management, we're some of the projections are showing how serious this is going to become, that water stress in countries is going to become a bigger issue in the proceeding or in the decades to come. And again, this would say just to have transparency on that, on water security, where the water is used, like there would say during the summer months, we have them sometimes in Ireland, but in other countries it would happen obviously a lot more, hose pipe bans and to limit water being used. But to where all our water is going and how it's managed, and that will become more important again, and that this would be this knowledge would be open and less likely to be misused, the water resources, particularly at times of high water stress in any country. So that you again could have tracking on all the different stages that the user that users do, and then that could be tracked by anyone. So I would say encouraging responsible water use. So another aspect would be, which was some of it was mentioned in the video again, would be like marine traffic. The pollution from marine traffic is increasing, and there's lots of different sources for that. So one would be ship emissions, the CO2 emissions, just basically more ships on the water transporting stuff is increasing their emissions. Then there's waste emissions from the ship that they would be dealt with in a suitable and responsible manner, and not just dumped out to sea. And then another big one is fishing plastic pollution. So there's different percentages, estimated percentages, but one is that fishing plastic pollution makes up 10% of plastic in the ocean, and that would be the total plastic. So there's, for that, the great garbage collection that's out in the Pacific, it's estimated that some of that is up to 70% of the pollution from that is plastic from fishing industry. So that ghost gear, they call it, or fishing ropes. But that would be only some of the plastic pollution in the ocean. There's a lot that isn't, so that would be the floating plastic pollution. But then there's a lot of plastic pollution that isn't floating as well. So that's the estimate anyway, 10%. So that this would be tracked. That equipment that's taken out to sea isn't just well, to lessen the amount that's lost at sea or discarded at sea is a big issue as well. And this could be tracked again, clocking gear in and out. That this would be done in a transparent and more responsible manner. That this could be encouraged with the use of blockchain as well. So I suppose that's the end of the presentations. So just again to remind people of the closing conference on the 27th of June, and to contact us for details if you want more details on that. So I'll just stop sharing now, and so we'll just a couple of questions. So a question that I'd have is, I suppose, the ocean health, maybe this is to Beste first, like how how much focus would there be on ocean health in general in Turkey and among the pilot participants? Like, I suppose, well, Istanbul has water all around it, and so that it surely be high widespread, would say, focus on water anyway, and then kind of the overall water quality.
Can you ask again?
I suppose what is the, like, is there's a lot of focus on water even among the participants of the pilot study.
Yeah.
They'd already be concerned, or and make use of water a lot in different ways.
You mean, are they going to be more concerned about this issue, or were they concerned?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because we live in, because as water is the vital source for human beings. We cannot live without it. We can live without eating, but not without water for a long time. So they were all very concerned, and they were all very interested about this issue, and they all said that the presentation was very, very beneficial for them, and they were in a lot of different issues. They were, I can say, well informed in some of the topics that we talked, because, as I said, we did a very interactive question and answer sessions and brainstorming activities and like research activities, and they were very willing to answer and participate about all these.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And I suppose maybe a similar question would be: the young people that were at the pilot, like, how engaged with water scarcity are they now? And would there be kind of maybe generational differences on how focused they would be on water scarcity?
So we actually are located very close to the beach, and a lot of the local schools that we invited are actually on the coast of Lisbon. So what happened was that they weren't so aware of water scarcity because they're used to seeing the beach filled with water, and they don't see the difference. So as you know, we implemented Learning Unit 1, Climate Change, and also Learning Unit 6, Water Scarcity. And definitely in schools, they are more sensitive to climate change. Although it impacts water scarcity, they were very more aware, and they already knew some of the basic topics of climate change and not so much of water scarcity. Maybe if we did the pilot with more interior schools, that they experience some dry places, some droughts, so they maybe are more sensitive to that question. But this people that we gather were not, and definitely after the pilot, I think they were, and they were motivated to pass on the word, especially to their families.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and I suppose that's what my experience here in Ireland would be, that it can be a localized issue of where there is a water scarcity issue, and that, but like, so even Ireland, where it does rain a lot, but we still have some issues with, you know, where the population center is and how to get water to them, and that. So we do have discussions, but then it comes up a lot just at very specific times, kind of, you know. I suppose just best maybe on water scarcity in particular. I know it wasn't a focus of years, but would there be high would say concern at different times for water scarcity in Istanbul or in Turkey in general?
Yeah, of course, we unfortunately face that problem time to time. So we have to be concerned about that issue as well. And we also talked about other issues that we focused on in this last project. We also talked about during our pilot process, we also talked about global warming, climate change, biodiversity loss, and how this issue is connected with them. We all, for example, the climate change was mentioned as the causes of this issue, and biodiversity loss is very connected with this issue, because when ocean health declines, biodiversity declines as well, unfortunately. And because we mentioned that the oceans are the great source of oxygen in our planet, 50%. And during the research, they came up with the information that unfortunately over the past 50 to 60 years, this rate decreased by 2%. And because of the emission of greenhouse gases, we face acidification problems, for example. So we also talked about these other issues in our pilot process.
Okay, yeah. Thanks a million. And I suppose that would be one of the things that's coming out of BLAST, the interconnectedness of all of these topics, and that I suppose that would be the plan of why they were worked on together, that they can be separated out a bit, but they're also connected. And you know, climate change is connected with other aspects of ocean health, like affecting the coral reefs, or you know, where different fish are going. So I suppose that's the whole crux of the issue, that it's also interconnected, and that even though the topics are split out to give focus to them, they're also intermingled, that the discussions can go in many directions, kind of, you know. But then I suppose, yeah, just the different challenges that the different areas can speak. So like, yeah, again, as we discussed, like water scarcity is a massive issue in some areas, and not so much in others. But as just from that, the map of the projections, it'll become more of an issue and become a very, very serious issue in certain areas, kind of, you know. So I think we're coming to the end of it now. So I suppose we're finishing off. This is the last of the webinar series. So I suppose I'd just like to thank all the presenters over the past 3 weeks for all of their contributions, and invite everyone who's listening or listening back to make contact with us, and if they want to know, or if they want to connect in more with us, we'll be finalizing the curriculum and all the different aspects of the BLAST program in total, just over the next couple of months. So I'd just like to say thanks to all the presenters, and for everyone who came and listened to us. So we'll leave it there. So thanks a million. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.